What's going on, YouTube? I am Germ here. In this video today, we're going to be talking about Paris once again. This video might get a little controversial. It might get a little, I don't know, combative, especially in the comments and stuff like that. I think we're going to have some weirdos probably coming out of the woodworks because this topic of Paris in general is a pretty controversial one right now. Cat going crazy in the background, but there are so many people on both sides of this thing, obviously, with a ton of people who have already spent a bunch of money on Paris, who have already invested a bunch of money in Paris and believe a lot in Paris. Maybe they're coping because they have a bunch of money on the line, they want to make money, maybe they really do believe in it, whatever. But then there's also tons of people on the opposite side, and obviously there are legitimate reasons to be to be questioning Paris and wondering if it's a good investment, or even be pretty negative about Paris overall. Obviously it is very, very invested into. There's a ton of people talking about it, a ton of people buying these. The numbers are crazy. The sale is seemingly going on forever. I'm not saying there's not legitimate criticisms, but there are also people, maybe being a little bit overly doomerish, being a little bit overly negative, and being a little bit overly aggressive to the point where they're being a little bit weird and a little bit cringe. So we're going to be talking about all of that in this video today, giving my thoughts and opinions on both sides of this argument, because like I said, I do understand both sides, but that doesn't mean I think both sides are right. Hopefully we'll be able to find some kind of middle ground that like always probably makes the most logical sense. But with that being said, I just want to talk about my cash trading business really quick. Allow me to plug this. We don't have any sponsors or anything like that on the channel yet, so these are kind of our ads right now. But I am buying all different kinds of CSGO items for cash, crypto, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, whatever. Obviously there is a ton of people looking to sell a ton of CS items right now, whether that be skins, stickers, knives, whatever, because a lot of people are pretty negative about the market right now. People are wanting to sell out. People are wanting to get into cash, something they feel safe about, something they feel comfortable with. If you're looking to do that, hit me up on Twitter. It's going to be linked in the description below. Selling to me or any other cash traders are really safe, efficient, effective ways to cash out. And yeah, so if you're looking to do that, hit me up. We can probably work out a deal. I've been doing it a ton lately. It's been fun. It's been going well, and I think people have been pretty happy with the service I'm providing. With that being said, let's get right into this. So, Paris stickers and Paris capsules, like I said, very controversial right now. A ton of people talking about them. Everybody has an opinion about them. And when you go onto social media, there's a ton of people talking about this stuff on Twitter, on Reddit, all over the place. There are so many, Reddit threads on CSGO Market Forum and all this stuff. And everywhere you go, you'll see a little bit different take, a little bit different opinion, but you'll also see a little bit different numbers, and you'll see some different graphs, and you'll see some different statistics. So it's hard to make sense of what is real, what is true, what is accurate, what is inaccurate, what is made up, what is maybe entirely fictional, and what is maybe somewhat on the right track. I don't know. There is so much kind of weird BS and stuff to sort through to actually get to the good stuff or get to the stuff that might be fairly accurate. But then even if you do find numbers or data or information or whatever that is accurate, making sense of it and coming to some kind of reasonable conclusion, or a conclusion that might make some sense, is a whole nother ball game in and of itself. And again, a lot of these things at the end of the day are just kind of predictions, or still very, very open to interpretation, because even with money and data and everything, you're still coming up with theses, and still anything can happen. And that's what I've always been talking about. Again, I'm somebody who is obviously pro Paris. I've put a lot of money into Paris, especially since I'm new to the scene. The biggest portion of my portfolio and the biggest position in my portfolio is Paris stuff. I've thought that Paris was going to be a good investment. I still, to this day, think that Paris is going to be a good investment. I still believe in Paris capsules. I still believe in Paris hollows. If I didn't, again, I would have sold out by now, because I have opportunities every day right now. If I wanted to sell a bunch of stuff, I could, and I could get a lot of that money back. But I have been, realistic about things, and I've said, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. I think Paris is going to be good. I think capsules are going to be good. I think hollows are going to be good. But I don't know. Anything can happen. I don't know. The people who are pro-Paris don't know. The people who are anti-Paris don't know. But also, one thing I've tried to keep in mind this whole time is having realistic expectations of this whole thing, because of the negative aspects of Paris. The fact that it is so over-invested, or highly invested, or whatever word you want to use. They are a little bit overpriced, or relatively highly priced versus the other recent borderless stickers we've seen. They're really talked about. There's a ton of investors in it. You can say the application rates are bad or whatever, and that the CS2 release was a flop and the sales going on forever. Those negative things do hurt the overall performance of Paris. They don't automatically make the performance bad, though. They just put a ceiling on the potential gains, and if some of those things were positives instead of negatives or not as negative or whatever, you'd have a higher chance of gains. But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a bad investment. But again, Reddit threads like this saying data suggests an estimated 430 million Paris capsules have been unboxed. Estimated capsule unboxing for Paris or for the majors Stockholm, Antwerp, Rio, Paris as of October 1st, 2023. And we have this graph, which is one of many graphs, I believe, where we have the estimated total major capsule unboxings as of October 1st of 2023. And according to this data, they believe that Stockholm sold around 78 million, Antwerp sold around 150 million, Rio around 68 million, and Paris 430 million. Now, again, what we have to remember is that Stockholm was an amazing investment. Once in a lifetime opportunity. Stockholm stuff went absolutely crazy. Antwerp, even though it sold double of Stockholm, was still a very, very good investment. Crazy gains all over the place. Rio was the worst investment of those three. Rio was not a bad investment, but it was not necessarily a great investment. Relative to the real world, it was a very, very good investment. But relative to CS, it was pretty lackluster. People weren't really, over the moon about Rio or anything like that. But still, it did well. People made money with Rio. So just straight up, the amount of capsules sold doesn't necessarily translate to whether exactly how good or bad the gains are going to be. Rio had the least, it didn't have the best gains. Antwerp, had the most capsules sold, it didn't have the worst gains, anything like that. But obviously it does matter. Again, Antwerp having double what Stockholm had, that put a cap on the amount of gains that Antwerp could have. Now, according to this data, this is saying that Paris has triple the amount of capsules sold of Antwerp. And again, right away, that could be a really big red flag. Again, is this data correct, accurate, true, whatever? I don't know. They do go into, on here, they go into how they derive this data. Kind of funny, kind of interesting in some ways. They talk about, they estimate the total number of Paris capsules using two sources of information, the Chinese unboxing data, Valve releases in compliance with the Chinese government, and then this guy's case unboxing numbers derived from CS Float's skin database. Okay, hold up. You go down here and you can see that, wow, these two data sets are wildly different all over the place. Sometimes even being as different as double the amount of difference. Like here for the clutch case, the orange data shows around 1.5 million and the blue Chinese data is close to 3 million. So, okay, they're deriving this data from two different sources, which are sometimes in agreement with each other, sometimes kind of close, but sometimes wildly different than each other. So how much stock would you really put into this data? I don't know. I think if you are like a statistician or somebody that really believes in numbers heavily, I would say that, hey, these data points are probably all not that all reliable and probably not something to put all that much weight into. And if they were really that accurate or really that, told that great of a story, they would probably be a little bit closer together and probably make more sense. Again, I don't really know. I haven't delved too much into this. I don't really care that much. But again, from these numbers, these are how they're coming up with some of this data. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm sure it's close. I'm sure they're on the right track, whatever. At the end of the day, has Paris sold more than Antwerp? Yes, surely. Nobody can argue that. How much more exactly? Nobody knows for sure. They don't know. They're going to claim this number and they're going to base off that, whatever. But at the end of the day, all you have to understand is Paris has sold more capsules. The sale's been going on for longer. There's more players, there's more investors, all this stuff. But does that necessarily mean that Paris is guaranteed to be a bad investment? A bad investment. And whether it's a good or bad or whatever investment is all relative. That's a subjective term. People are going to have different goals. People are going to want to make certain amounts of money, whatever. But again, Antwerp was an insane investment. If we look at what some of the Antwerp stuff did, we can see the Antwerp capsules from the end of the sale to the peak were up almost 10x for the Antwerp Legends, almost 7x for the Antwerp Contenders, almost 6x for the Antwerp Challengers. And that's in such short amount of times. If we look at the holos from the end of the sale to the peak, the best performing holos were up 35x. And even from the end of the sale to more recent times, the best holos were up 9x, 5x, 5x, 5x. And this is in short amounts of time. This is like I don't know if it was a year, a little bit more than a year, a little bit less than a year, whatever. And when you compare those to real life gains, those are insane. Those are astronomical. These are gains that can be afforded to be eaten into. Even if Paris is wildly and grossly more oversold than Antwerp, there is still a ton of room for Paris to still be a good investment. And that's what I think is funny here. We have this guy, Green is Poor. He, puts out some of his own data and puts out some charts and all this stuff. And I don't know. This is one of those guys that seems pretty cringe, pretty weird, pretty just like overly aggressive and oh, I'm right and everybody else is wrong and a lot of weird stuff. And in his graphs, I think his graphs are actually pretty funny because he has here on the left the estimated numbers of major capsules in existence, conservative estimates, and then estimated numbers of major capsules in existence, pessimistic, realistic estimation, which again, that just shows you, he's obviously coming from a very, very strong point of bias, which doesn't really make sense in statistics and stuff like that. But also, you'll see at the top of his graphs, calculation of Paris not backed on data, but estimations. Other side, calculation of Paris not backed on data, but estimations. So again, you probably don't want to say on your graphs when you're trying to make a point that your calculations are not based on data. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. That doesn't put, a lot of confidence in my heart about anything you're talking about. Also, some guy asked, hey, how did you come up with these numbers? I did not. Gavin did. Not sure if he's public with this source or not. Which again, these are just hilarious comments. These are like so non-self-aware. It's so funny. And then even here, this same guy, he says, Paris investors might be the dumbest people on the planet. It still might be profitable, but the supplies is so high, it legit can't get rare. He goes on to say here, we will see, you'll be lucky to skim 2 RMB per capsule, I think. And again, for people who don't know what RMB is, we can look up a quick RMB calculation and see that 2 RMB is equivalent to 28 cents, which again, even if you're buying the capsules at 25 cents, that would be doubling your money, which, again, is that a good performance? Is that bad performance? It depends who you're asking or what time frame or whatever. But you also have to understand that this guy is mega pessimistic. And even the most mega pessimistic guy is saying, I think you'll be able to make 28 cents per capsule. And again, if you bought them at 25 cents, which everyone has had the ability to do, you'd be doubling your money. But you also have to understand people who have been buying on third-party marketplaces, even non-buff, have been able to get cost bases as low as 20 cents. 21, 22 has been very, very easy. 20 cents has been possible. And if you've been able to buy on buff, you've been able to get cost bases even lower. So if you're making 2 RMB on 25 cent capsules, that's already a little bit more than doubling. If you're making 2 RMB on capsules that you were getting for 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 cents, that's even better. And that's still really, really good. And that's if the most pessimistic guy out there is correct on his estimates. What if it ends up being a little bit better than that? What if it ends up being significantly better than that? I don't know. But again, everywhere you go, you'll see stuff like this. Is Paris a stupid investment over cases? And I don't know. Cases are very, very good. It's very, very possible that cases could end up being good. But to say that Paris investors are the dumbest people on the planet, and then to say that you think it's possible that they're going to be able to double their investment in like a year or something like that, that doesn't sound like the dumbest people on the planet to me. Maybe some Paris investors are overeager or, overestimating stuff or whatever. But, the dumbest people on the planet, there's people out there who are investing stuff that's going to zero and are literally losing all of their investment, all their money. To say that you think people could double their investment in a year, that's still pretty good. And again, understand that it's coming from somebody who's very, very pessimistic and still thinks that doubling in Paris is very, very possible. So I don't know. Just understand that there's a ton of people out there who claim to know everything and don't even want to hear other people's opinions and, are saying stuff like, you're just acting like, they're right and they know exactly what they're talking about, while also all of their numbers are estimates. And again, even when you look at this guy's graphs, I think it's very, very interesting too that the access on the side here is in scientific notation. It's very unclear. It's very weird, and obviously they would say, well, scientific notation, easy to read, blah, blah, blah. But you have to understand the average person might not even know what scientific notation is, definitely can't accurately understand this graph by looking at it for like 2 seconds. So it's just the numbers and data are unclear. It's a weird graph. It's a bad graph. It's based on not backed on data but estimation. So many weird things going on here. I don't know. Nobody knows the truth. We're going to find out. And again, arguing over these things in the short term is so stupid because the story is going to play out. The story is going to tell itself in the next 6 to 12 months. We're going to find out. We're going to see. A couple of the big X factors here are still, if we get new content in CS2, we could get a player base boom. That could definitely help. And the fact that Paris stickers are some of the best looking stickers in the entire game. Paris is not RMR. RMR was ugly and overinvested, overhyped, oversold. Paris looks good. Paris is very, very close to Antwerp and Stockholm, which have had amazing results. Yes, it's more highly sold, bigger supplies and all that stuff. But again, it's not like Antwerp and Stockholm were barely profitable and now Paris is screwed. Those were insanely possible. So there's still, at least in my opinion, plenty of room for error for Paris. I'm not expecting Antwerp type gains. I'm not expecting Stockholm type gains. I'm just expecting to have a hopefully pretty safe, pretty profitable investment that I think will end up turning out okay, despite what a lot of the negative doomers out there are saying. But again, we'll have to wait and see. The story's going to tell itself. It doesn't make sense to get in shit-flinging contests right now because this is going to be black and white in 6 to 12 months. One side's going to be right, one side's going to be wrong. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. Pretty much every video today, guys. Hopefully I catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.